Hi, everybody.
Hello.
This is Lindsay. Who's going to teach you Yin Yoga. Okay? Take it over, Lindsay. You're recording.
So if you have available to you some props, it'd be helpful to have a couple of foam blocks, wooden blocks, maybe a bolster and a blanket. And today's yin practice, we're going to start standing, and not a lot of yin is done standing, but I'd like to break down something about the fascia before we begin. So if you just like to come to a standing position. So standing in Tadasana, feet are about hip width apart. You can close your eyes here and feel into the base of your feet. And do a little bit of a wobble forward and back on your feet. And on the inside and the outside edges as well. It's just kind of like a free form wobble around. And then find some stillness where you feel like you have a balance point between the balls of the feet and the center of the heel. Once you find some stillness in your stance, relax your shoulders and the muscles of your legs. Soften your jaw. We have a cleansing breath. Just notice in your right foot only for now. If you can feel any particular points on the sole of the foot that have more contact with the floor. Maybe there's one distinct point, maybe there's 2 or 3 of them. And just look into the right foot only. And then take your attention over to the left foot. And notice any distinct points of contact there. Keeping the legs relaxed and soft. You can bring your chin down towards your chest. And blink the eyes open and lift your gaze. So Yin Yoga has a great focus on the meridian lines, which originate in the feet. So that's why I had you take a look at if you could feel any postural patterns that are in there. So thinking about things like reflexology, if you have constant pressure on certain points on the feet, that's going to affect you all the way up the chain, the rest of your body, in terms of your meridian lines, which is the nadis. Talk about them in yoga. So the first thing I'm going to have you do now is, in your Tadasana stance, I'm going to have you do a forward fold in Tadasana, but try not to bend your legs at all, or your spine. So you can just have your hands at your waist to begin. Inhale and lift the crown, drop the shoulders and relax down. And then as you exhale, come forward from the hip crease, keeping your back straight and legs straight, really slowly. Keeping those 2 strong lines connected. Notice the flexibility in your hamstrings, particularly here. You can let your arms come down the legs. Try not let the legs bend. And then just take a notice for yourself. Where are your hands? And this isn't, a challenge about hitting the floor. It's about maintaining the length of the spine and the legs together. And where is your flexibility here? Make a mark with your fingers on your legs or on the floor, in front of the toes or through the feet, depending on your flexibility, not making it about how far it goes. Okay, and make that mental marker for yourself, and then bend the legs, engage the quads, inhale to rise. Okay, now I'm just going to take you down to the floor, so find a comfortable position, seated. I'm just going to sit on a bolster for comfort. And you're going to take your right foot into your hands, however you can manage getting your foot into your hands. It doesn't have to be the way I'm holding my leg here. And you're just going to start to massage the arch of the foot. So I'm taking my thumbs into the arch of the foot, nice round circles. And the reason why I'm focusing on this to begin is to show you how the fascia affects the chain of upwards, from feet upwards, which is the rest of you. How the fascia affects your flexibility. So you can also rub the balls of the feet. I'm just using my thumbs here, in circles, and squeezing the heel up the back of the heel, going upwards from the heel, up the Achilles heel, kind of pinching. Maybe trying to interlace your fingers into the toes, or if you can't do that, just grabbing onto the toes, doing some forward and back movements. Circular. And then we're going to take our attention to the space between the two balls of the feet. In the center of them, about halfway down. So for me, it's there. This is a place called Bubbling Spring. I'm going to have you just put your thumb there and just apply gentle pressure and do some circular movements with your thumb. And this spot can be tender for some, can even stimulate nausea for some. And bubbling spring is a point of contact on our foot in Chinese medicine, where we draw energy in up from the earth and distribute back down. So we want to keep that nice point of contact with here. This is actually the center of our balance when we're standing too. Now, I'm going to have you, now that just the one foot was massaged, hopefully you stuck on the right the whole time. I'm going to have you stand back up. Back into your Tadasana stance. Relaxing the shoulders and closing the eyes. Just want you to feel into the base of your feet. And feeling the points of contact on your right foot. And comparing that with your left. And what you might notice here is that the right foot now has more contact with the floor. So it's almost like a puddle. And what we've done there is we've really erased those energetic postural patterns in our feet that quickly. So foot massages, definitely a benefit to you. Give them to yourself, give them to others, do them before your yoga practice often. Now I'd like to show you another reason why. So go back to your Uttanasana with your hands to waist. And inhale and lengthen through the crown. And exhale and fold forward with no compromising of that straight spine, straight legs. We need that line to stay connected. And feel through the back of your right leg now compared to your left. You can slowly let your arms come down the legs. And notice, maybe if you try to direct more with the right or the massage side than the left. Okay, now usually what you're noticing here is you probably have an inch or two more opening on the side that you have massaged. Okay. So we can just bend our legs here, again using the quads. Inhale, rise up. And that's all the standing that I'm going to have you do. We're going to go back down to the floor. And we'll stay here from now on. And now we're going to treat the left foot just as good as we treated the right. So start to massage the sole. I'm not going to have you stand up again to notice how it changes after this foot, but I reassure you, hopefully you were able to witness that within yourself. And if you didn't see any difference, just try it again and spend more time on the massage, because I'm kind of blazing through this part. Don't want to spend too much time on it. So getting the arch of the foot, the ball of the foot. But if you're, before your yoga classes, before you're teaching, when I have people come into class, I always encourage them, give yourself a foot massage. It's kind of a warm up before your yoga practice. You're going to help release all the fascia of the body through this self-care practice. Okay, so squeezing the heel. Going up the Achilles tendon. Getting your fingers between those toes, forward and back. Circles. And bubbling screen. Just between the balls of the feet with your thumb. Consistent pressure, circles in each direction. Whatever intuitively circle motion you went. It's not about being even or counted here. So now we begin our practice. So Yin is often kind of combined with restorative out there. So I'd really like to point out that there's a big difference between what you're doing in restorative practice and what you're doing in a Yin practice. I'll get you into a pose while we talk about this. So we're going to go into what is called caterpillar. We call it Paschimottanasana. You may want to sit up. If you have tight hips or whatnot, you might want to elevate your seat. And in Yin, it's actually really benefit to you if you can use as many props as possible, because you want to target certain areas and you don't want anything else getting involved. So we're going to have a seated posture. I've got my sit bones coming off the front edge of the blanket. They're not sitting directly in the center. I'm using it to create neutrality of the pelvis. Underneath your legs, you can have your bolster like this. Maybe some of you might need it like this even. We're doing a forward fold here, but it's not about how far down we go. I'm going to use probably a couple of blocks to support the head. So we start off, say, in a position like this. My hips or my feet are about shoulder width apart, legs are bent.
That's okay, honey.
What's that? Sorry?
Oh.
Sorry, I think Daphne, you've got your microphone on or something. I'm going to sit up, and then we want to maintain this neutral spine as we come forward. So you might feel a little bit of compression here in the hip. And if you are feeling like this is preventing you from going forward, you might be better off with a Baddha Konasana posture, allowing the knees to come out to the side. The target area for this pose is here in the low back. So we're trying to open up through the low back. So you want to come into a forward fold. So for me, this posture with my body, to be comfortable here, I would have to prop my head onto something. Maybe I'm going to use a series of blocks. That might be a little bit too low. You can always use a block to prop like this, so your nose hangs off the front edge. I don't want you to feel like you need to go that low. You can also use this sort of combination. And what you're looking for is a mild, dull kind of ache. You're not looking for pain. You're not looking for numbness or tingling. But I want all your sensation to be experienced here. So if there's anything else in your body that's talking to you, you need to prop up your body in a way where that's no longer getting involved. Maybe it's too low to go down there. Maybe I need a bolster higher up. So you find whatever works for you. Once you find the position, you stay there. I'm just going to show you combinations of things that you can do. You can put blocks under the legs instead. Good. Rest your head here. So you're not looking for a dramatic Paschimottanasana, nose to knees. You're looking for a gentle opening of your lower back. If you're feeling it in your upper back, you're going too far. Back off so that you can target the lower spinal area. Stay there in the posture. Once you find that you've targeted the area that we're looking to target, that edge, then you want to quiet the body through long exhalation breaths. And the body will relax. And if it doesn't, then the ego is getting involved and you're pushing too far. Always back off if you can't breathe. And then you take your focus into that pranic flow, into the area of the body that you're targeting. You're breathing into your lower back. It's not about getting deeper in the pose on your exhalation. It's about relaxing. Some of the challenges with the yin practice can be the mind getting involved. Quieting the mind. Or noticing what sort of discourse goes on about this practice. And if we find that we're in a place of discomfort, how do we respond? So like I just mentioned a little earlier, yin is the restorative. This restorative, we're lying down, we're supported, we're relaxed, we're no effort. Gravity's doing the majority of the work. Biggest effort resides in the quieting of the mind and focusing on the breath. But in yin, we want to make sure we're targeting certain areas and we're creating a sense of here compression on one side of the spine and opening on the other side. We're very specific when we're trying to feel this. Okay, so you've been there long enough. We can hold these poses anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes or more. The longer you hold a pose, the longer you take to come out of it. So use your inhalation breath. That's going to help constrict the muscles of the spine slightly as you rise up. And then as slowly and gently as you can, you want to remove your props. I always encourage people to kind of practice with their eyes, maybe half closed, and move very sloth-like, gently, slowly moving all the props from underneath. And with as little disturbance as possible, I'm just going to move forward. You just want to lie down on your back. Now, you want to take one leg into your arm to make that easier for you. You can use long lean strap and lie down. The blanket can be here, or you can take it away. And then you're going to let your legs come down. And you're lying in Shavasana, corpse pose. And you're sensing into the area where we created that compression and expansion sense of low back. And just noticing As fluids start to rush into the spinal cord, we're starting to nourish the joints of the body, nourishing the vertebrae here. So blood flow is going back into the area that we just opened up, and you may feel coolness or some warmth there. And notice head to toe between these poses, the changes that you experience. So this is the way we counterpose in Yin. It's not always another active pose or another type of pose. Often it's Shavasana, allowing the body to be in a neutral position and allowing the nadis, meridian lines, to recalibrate. If you feel like you need to do a knees to chest, you can do that. You can do the bent knees side to side as well. And then next I'm going to have you roll over. We're going to go into Sphinx. So what we're working with is called, it's tensegrity. So a sense of compression on one side and opening on the other. So we want to do it both ways. Okay, so we're now bringing the spine to the opposite curve from where we came. So with Sphinx or Bhujangasana, you can use your bolster. It's going to go as little as this, right? So we could be here. This is something called like alligator. Space between the feet to allow for any low back sensitivity or if it's too tight there. So you could be here, forehead resting on hands. You could come a little bit higher up here. And remember, you're holding this for minutes at a time, so you want to choose something that's not going to be so challenging that you're uncomfortable. Looking for a sense of compression of the low back. And in Yin, hopefully, you're not having to contract muscles because the idea is we want to soften in these poses. We find where we need to be. I'm going to keep going, but you don't have to. You might be here. And now I'm making sure my shoulders aren't crowded here. I'm not pushing out actively either, so somewhere in between. And some people like to go all the way up to seal, but I tend to leave out those really dramatic offerings because I find people will take them and it's not always required. So less is more in Yin. In Yang, you can go ahead and spend as much energy as you like. This Yin is a feminine practice. Hopefully you've all found your comfortable place to be in this pose. Creating some compression at the lower discs of the spine. Softening the glutes. Although for some, if that creates a pain response in the body, allow them to contract slightly because it's there to protect you. Otherwise, you found your edge. Soften your breath. Nice long exhalation breath. We're looking to find the target area and stay there. Focus on your breath. Direct that pranic flow into the area where we're creating nourishment.
And this class that I've put together for us today is all urinary bladder, gallbladder. It's really good for any ailments too of the lower body, kidneys, low back pain. Notice if anything is beginning to contract on you. Sometimes I'll rest my head here on my hands. Maybe you need to have a block underneath the forehead. And sometimes during a yin practice, you'll feel a buzzing or a throbbing, particularly in this pose, maybe in the glutes, as deep, deep muscles begin to realize that they can soften and relax. This slight pressure that I have there with the block on the third eye is useful in helping quiet the mind. It can also help if you suffer from headaches or migraines to have that slight pressure on either side of the brow. Just place the hands just here, bridge of the nose. And then moving out of this pose, if you are lifted as I am, you may just want to kind of fold over the bolster first. From here, I'll push up into a child's pose again. You want to move very slowly. Drag your hands along the floor, bring the hands to the sides. I would inhale first to contract and protect my spine. And then as I exhale, I'm pushing into the hands up onto knees, and I'll be going into a child's pose here. And it's not a long one. We're not going to stay there. This is our counter pose. The slower you go, the better. Now there's a few different versions of child's pose, and they greatly affect the spine. So you want to know your clients and inform them that if they need to keep a straight back, a knees wide, toes together is going to be a better alternative for them. So anybody with these sort of disc bulging issues and things like that, they might be safer doing something like that. The other version for child's pose is your knees and hips and ankles all in line. This is going to create a curved spine as my seat comes down. And I'm sure some people will need something underneath their seat here. But you notice how my spine rounds in this version. You may need a blanket here underneath the knees as well. You want to make it as cozy as possible. Yin is a feminine practice. It's like your mother. Just allowing blood flow to now go back into the spine where we created the compression. That's how we create the nourishment of this practice. We compress areas and then we open them up, bringing new energy, new product flow, blood flow into the area. All right. Next pose, Jatara Parivartanasana. This is your lying down side twist, of which there are innumerable variations of. So we're going to be lying back on our backs on the floor again. And you could just have your feet hip width apart. And just rock your knees side to side. So what I'd like you to think about now is your own target area of focus. So we can go anywhere from the IT band all the way up into the upper back with this pose, depending on the positioning of our legs. Okay, so just briefly, if my legs are down here, that's going to affect me lower down into the body. If I move my legs, say hip level here, that's going to go higher than this IT band area and more into the mid-back. I do want everyone to keep their shoulder blades flat on the floor for this. That's also another variation that you could work with. But for today's purpose, keep your shoulder blades on the ground. It's nice to take the pelvis up and down, so making some gentle movements of the pelvis here, because we just really sent a lot of product flow into this sacral area. So feeling that fluid mobility of the lower lumbar spine as we've increased that. And I'm just putting my back flat to the floor and then allowing the natural curve to come back. And then I'm going to have my arms outstretched in line with shoulders. Palms upward facing. I'm going to rotate my head side to side. And I'm looking for that flat back to my skull. You may have not noticed just how flat the back of your head is, but truly there's a flat back there. I'd like you to be on it to begin. And take a nice cleansing inhalation breath. And on your exhalation, let your knees fall to the right side. Now, all the things we need to consider. First thing I'll have you take a look at is your upper left shoulder blade to make sure it hasn't left contact with the floor. If it has, supporting the legs with a bolster or block on the side here. I'll just do it on this side just for ease of understanding. Okay, that might be required. If this leg is hanging up like this, lots of people experience pressure here on the inside of the knee as it's pulling on the ligaments, really, which you don't want. So you can maybe have 1 or 2 blocks there, or the bolster. And so I'm always walking around the room to make sure everybody's nice and flat here, no arm hanging up here. I want to make sure nobody's experiencing numbness or tingling in the hands. They need to lower the hands down. The brachial nerve runs here and it can get cut off through that big opening. They can put their hands lower. So I have my legs quite low. So it's more or less working on this outer hip. IT band is very, very gentle. If I wanted to increase that sensation, I could stagger the legs. I could add this hand here. I could straighten the leg. This creates a holding scenario, so you want to be aware of that because I want to be relaxing in the end. So if I want to wanted to straighten the leg, I would have to put something underneath it so that I'm not pulling it. For my body, I'd have to adjust it like this. Now I can have the leg more straight. No numbness and tingling. That can happen very easily, especially when people are pushing to go deeper and higher in poses. So always watching how people are breathing will give you a really good gauge for where they're at. Are they breathing calm? You can see in their face that there's tension in their eyebrows, in their jaw. Are they clenching? Even in their hands, their toes. And of course, you can take your gaze to the opposite side from which your legs fell, if you choose to incorporate that twist from the base of the spine all the way to the crown of the head. For anybody with whiplash, you might just want to keep them looking straight up. Yin is a great practice for anybody who's pregnant, of course, as long as you're keeping their twists small and gentle. Anybody with high blood pressure, you also want to be aware for your twists, as that can increase their blood pressure. And notice as you're lying here, the hip that's on the floor, is that contracting as well? You need to see, you can soften there. Our target area is here only, or in our back only. Don't want anything else calling for our attention. So coming out from this side, I'll have you bend the legs. If you have them staggered or uneven in any way, bring them back so that they're aligned with each other. And you can use a hand to help lift the legs as well. And inhale and lift the legs. So you're not contracting everything to lift the legs. You're assisting yourself back up. And you can do some of those pelvic tilts if you like here in the center. You can bring the knees to chest. Some people like that sense of release and relief. You could reach the arms up, overhead, and get the body really long. I always tend to do this sort of thing between twists to make sure nothing funky is going on with the spinal alignment before doing the other side. Okay, so I'll have you bend the knees and line up to the other side. I'm switching myself around. We don't have to do the same twist from side to side, so sometimes we need more IT, sometimes we need more spine, you know your body best. So you get to know your body more over the years, and it's a fantastic thing we're doing here, teach you this yoga. So maybe I'll take a version like this time. And I'll bolster between the knees. This will only work here if I can take the legs down to the side and still maintain my shoulder blade on the floor on the opposite side. Jatara Parivartanasana is a digestive pose. Really great for elimination. Anybody with constipation or any digestive issues? In terms of the nervous system, it's very calming. It's very useful for anybody with depression, insomnia, ADHD even. Closing the eyes. Here, the diaphragm really works to detox the system, so utilize that by breathing deeper into the belly. Setting up along the sides, so great. Bringing some calm to the nervous system. I often incorporate mantra into classes, or even those nice long deep sigh, the breath to stimulate and vibrate the vagus nerve. Help calm the system, warm. Trying to stay focused on drawing pranic flow into the area where you feel what it is that you're feeling. Looking to target that one area. And getting ready to come up from this side. Going to move the block, you don't have to. You could squeeze it as well as another choice. Use the hand to help lift the legs. That's the inhale first here. And lift the legs. Okay, so counter pose here for your twist is right down the center line of the body. Reach. Flex the feet, stretch the fingers. And then relax. I'm going to take you into a very short Setu-Dandasana. That's part of my counter pose right here, just to give us a little bit of inversion. So you could use your foam block, or you could use your wooden block. We're not holding this very long. I'm going to bring my feet hip width apart. And I'm going to press into the feet equally, outside, inside edges, toes and heels, so feet are firmly planted. I'm going to engage the feet, calves, quads, glutes, and lift. And then I'm going to place whatever prop it is that I like behind my hip bones here. You find top of hip bones, going from there down. Shouldn't be digging into the spine. I'm not going to demonstrate all the bad things you don't want to do. That's how you hurt yourself as a teacher. So try to avoid showing what not to do. This is also a really good option. This is skin. It's not about how high I go. How gentle can I be with myself? This is just to displace the sacrum just a little bit in the body here after that twist. really trying to move all the chronic flow of blood, all in this area here. Urinary, gallbladder, bladder. Yeah, watch for people not putting any sort of head supports here in this pose. If anything, you can have a rolled up blanket underneath the neck. Or careful people aren't lifting the pad. Okay, so that's just a very quick counter pose. So engage all those muscles in the legs again, feet, abs, quads, glutes, lift, all that support. And for the purpose of this class, I keep back straight and I lower down that way with all those legs and glutes assisting you in that movement. Last pose that we're going to work on is this Nityambasana, but we're lying down. So it's banana asana. I'm not sure if that's a technical name for it. It's like a crescent moon. Okay, what we're looking for in this pose is to maintain contact with the shoulder blades and the pelvis on the floor. So no rolling off of the floor to go further. That's another egoic inspiration. So we're going to take our arms up overhead. And then just kind of let them fall down. And notice that as you let them fall down, see the backs of my arms come on the floor. You really want to make sure people's arms are relaxed in this pose. And we're going to take the feet and walk them over, as far over to the right. Now I can kind of lift my bum up a little bit there. So that's about as far over to the right as I can go with my feet. I have space between the feet. And then I want to take a deep breath. Not pinching in my low back. Wonderful. And then we're going to take the upper back. Now I just kind of step into the back of my head like that. That's not going to be good for anybody that's had whiplash or anything, but they want to move their shoulder blades to the right as far as they can while maintaining flatness here in the pelvis and the upper back on the floor. So I create this nice crescent moon shape with my body. Now with the arms, some people will need some support under their arms, especially if they're reaching and they're not relaxing after you mention it. Just put something underneath. So I'm constantly propping up people's bodies in ways, asking them if they like it, letting them know they can get rid of it. I'm not offended if they change what's going on. We're targeting the hip here, the rib cage. We want to create this long line of energy through the side body. Some people want more with this. They want to grab onto this is my left wrist with the right hand. If that's taking the arm off the floor, I might just come along and prop this block underneath it. So when they're reaching, it can still be relaxed. You want to make sure nobody receives that numbness and tingling of the hands. If they need to let the hands come down, that's fine. You can still get that nice stretch through the side body. And heads to the ceiling. So nose to the ceiling. You're on the flat back of your skull here. For more sensation, you can also take the left foot up and over the right ankle. That might be too much. You might need to back off. So it's okay to try something and decide to change. Really using that belly breath or ujjayi breath. The longer the release, the better the relaxation response of the body. I went for the cross legs, I'll get rid of that. If I've grabbed onto the wrist here, I'll get rid of that. And then I usually guide people to come back with their feet first. And then their upper body into the center. And you can have that long stretch again here in the center if you like. And then go to the other side. So walking the feet as far over to the left as you can. Keeping the sacrum flat on the floor. And then bringing your upper back, head over to the left. And either just allowing the hands, that's one thing I look for, is the backs of the hands on the floor, wherever they want to go. We'll make sure people aren't reaching like this, they're rolling. But grabbing onto that right wrist with the left arm there is one way of bringing some more extension through from the hip all the way up the arm, but that may be more active than what you're looking for. Or the right leg over the left. So you can learn a lot about yourself in a yin class. Now, normally I wouldn't talk so much, but for the purpose of this training, I talk a lot. But usually there's a lot of silence in a yin class. You know, you're in silence for about 3 to 5 minutes, and it gives you that time and space to contemplate. What happens when you're faced with challenge? What happens when you're faced with discomfort? Do you modify things? Do you assist the body, or do you force the body? And our breathing here is creating expansion between the rib cage itself. So we're actually increasing the amount of oxygen we can bring in, of prana we can bring in into the lungs. Very good for lymphatic drainage here underneath the arm. Opening up through the side of the hip. So postural patterns where we tend to sink into one hip. We probably have one side that's tighter than the other. In your home practice on your own, spend twice as long where you need to. Slowly undo any crosses or gripping of the wrist. Slowly walk your feet back to center. And your arms back to center. And if you like, you can bring the knees to the chest on exhalation. Do any rocking, gentle, slow movements. And from here you go into Shavasana. And you can do it flat on the floor, absolutely no props. Or you could have your head on foam block or a blanket underneath the nape of your neck. Grab your blanket to put on top of you. Have a bolster behind the knees if you like. I usually suggest that for people that don't feel comfortable lying on their back flat on the floor. The blanket's a little nicer on the neck than a block. Just let the feet flop out to the sides and rotate so you have backs, the hands on the floor, palms rotate upwards. Let the fingers curl gently into the palms as they naturally would. Gently rolling the head side to side. The teeth are parted in the mouth, lips closed. Soften the glutes. Feel that heavy space of contact with the floor around the sacrum. Sometimes when we work on a targeted area so much, it can create a dull-like ache, and that's expected at times, depending on the practice. But as we create change in the body, it's not always the comfiest experience. Softening the glutes and muscles of the legs. You need to make any subtle movements of the body as you go through it. Soften a little deeper. Just go ahead and release that little stitch of energy. Watching the body breathe. As we realign the energetic pathways of the body. Shavasana is so important. We spent all that time working on removing blockages in the energetic body. This is the time where the body can memorize a healthy pattern. Recalibrate. Having a deep cleansing breath, inviting movement back into your form, any intuitive way that feels good. Reaching out through the arms and legs. Bringing the bend into the knees. And for yin, I say rolling to the right to keep your Hita channel open, the feminine sides, that left nostrils exposed there as you lie on your right side. And slowly coming back up to a seated position. And we'll just finish off with a single Om. We're going to inhale our arms up and Om on the way down. Inhale, reach up.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yes, you're so great. Do we want to stop the cloud recording?